بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, my young friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Just in front of our eyes, we have lived through most of the summer. It's a time when, willingly or unwillingly, we prepare for back to school, back to classes, back to routines. So if you're a child, you're a student, you're a youth, you're getting ready to head back to classes. If you're a parent, most likely you are helping your child get ready and get prepared for heading back to school. There was a lot of focus on preparation. So if you look at any store flyer, most stores, many stores, right, you'll find items, back to school items on sale, lists going out from schools, from teachers, for supplies to be purchased, focus on clothing and backpacks, deals for cell phones and plans. So a lot of preparation. Now the priorities for parents is that they want their children to be successful. And parents want the experience of school for their children to be smooth. They want them to study well. They want them to be successful overall, and especially in their studies. So this is the priority, and this is the focus from the parent's perspective. Right? So if you're a parent or a grandparent, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're not one yet, and you're a child, you're a student, know that this is what is probably top of mind for your parents. But for the children, the focus is usually not so much on those things. Right? So children will want, some of them perhaps, inshallah, will want to learn well, but the priorities are different. So as a child, you most likely want to have an enjoyable time. You want to be liked. You don't want to be bullied. You don't want to be made fun of. You want to fit in. You want to make sure your parents don't buy any clothes that make you look funny, make you look odd. You want to make sure that you have technology, that allows you or that makes you feel like you fit in. Right? So these are the priorities normally for children. So as parents, when we focus on the studies and all of the important things, it's important to keep in mind that this is what is most likely going through our children's minds. So from the parents' perspective, it's all about education. Right? So for children, right, it's important for you to know your parents have a plan for you in their minds. The day you were born, or when you were very young, your parents built up all these aspirations about you. That, oh, my son and my daughter are going to do this and are going to do that, are going to go into this field, and they will have such a successful life, and they will take care of us, and they will do this, and they will have children. So they've planned out. They've planned out your whole future, not necessarily in terms of what is going to happen, but what in terms of what they would like to see. And the decisions that they make for you and the choices that they make for you, they're doing them with that plan in mind. But from the child's perspective, of course, it's mostly about social interaction. It's about friends. It's about trends. It's about self-esteem and identity and being cool. So, that's okay.
What is this?
So it's important to understand, especially for parents, that as we focus on education and as we focus on success for our children, the social element, the social part of going to school, of going to college, of going to university, may be just as consequential for the future of our children as the educational element. So just like we are focused on success in education, we have to understand and we must try to help our children succeed on a social level as well. Because if we ignore the social part, it may turn out that that is the part that actually has the gravest and the most serious of consequences. You see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us as social beings. He has not put each of us on a different planet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us as social beings, that we live in communities and we are part of families and we get to know people and we enjoy others, the company of others. And He has given us the ability then to befriend others, to become close to other people. Back in the days, social interaction was mostly limited mainly to those who we could meet. Right? So whenever there was mention of friends, whenever there was mention of interaction, it was mainly about the people that you would meet, that you would see, that you would talk to. Perhaps, in the odd scenario, you would maybe, write a letter, for example. But it was mainly about person-to-person contact. Today, it's very different. The scope has widened. The scope of interaction has widened very much. So now, we may be friends with people online, or we may be following people on Instagram, other social media platforms. We may have friends of friends, people who are in the social circle of our friends, and we may have a mutual friend. We may have a mutual connection, but perhaps we don't know them. And many times we will find people who we have not even met, but we will consider them to be our friends. Or we may think that we know them. We may even think that we know them well, which may not be the case. So what it means to be a friend and the whole spectrum of social interaction has completely changed. And we live in a new world, in a new reality today. And it can be challenging for adults and even more so challenging for children and youth. Now, regardless of whether we are truly friends in person or it's someone who is online, we consider someone our BFF, BFL, our friends will have tremendous influence upon us as children, as youth, and as adults. So this is not something which is specific only to children or exclusive only to youth, but adults as well. Because almost everyone, regardless of age, except for maybe children who are very young, will want to be in, will want to be accepted, will want to be part of a community and be part of a group and not feel like we are left out, that we are not accepted. No one wants to be made fun of. Nobody wants to be left out. Now, if a close friend asks you or wants you to do something, applies a bit of pressure, there's a good chance that what will happen? That you will end up doing it. Even if it's not direct peer pressure. What your friends are like, what their likes and dislikes are, the choices that they make are likely to rub off on you as well. So the choices that our friends make, the decisions that they make, the desires that they have, many times will dictate or will at least lead us to doing those same things as well. So, for example, if our friends are going somewhere that is inappropriate, a place which is inappropriate for us to be in, situation or a place where we are likely to be in situations that are inappropriate for us, most chances are that we will feel like wanting to do the same as well. Or at the very least, we may find ourselves contemplating doing the same as well. Places where there is consumption of that which is harmful, where people are consuming things, whether it's drinks, which are prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether they are drugs, or just behavior which is indecent. Behavior which is considered to be indecent. And this is more common than we think. Right? We may think, okay, there's people who offer salah, who are believers, alhamdulillah, and they're protected from all of these things. But the reality is that there are many, many instances where our brothers, our sisters, right, we ourselves find ourselves in situations where there are things that are happening which are clearly wrong, which are clearly indecent. Friends holding parties. You have a friend, a brother who's getting married. You want to hold a party for him beforehand. And the types of things that happen. You may not be aware, but in some situations, in some instances, they can be going to a place and engaging in activities which are completely indecent, completely forbidden by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And that's just one example. We talk about events and activities that youth will be invited to attend, sometimes outside of school, sometimes inside of school, especially in high school. And there's all types of actions which are prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are going to be taking place. And of course, there's pressure. There's pressure from the friends. There's pressure from the school community. Everyone is going. Are you going to be the only one who's not going to go? How are you going to say no? What excuse are you going to give? Well, I'm not feeling well today. I'm not feeling well. I have another engagement. Oh, I have something to do. Right? These are everyday, maybe not every day, but these are regular situations that we face, and especially our youth face while going to school. So the question is that if your friends are going and they pressure you to go, can you say no? Do you have the ability and the strength to say no? And even if there is no pressure, can you say no? Will they be respectful of your choices? Or will they make fun of you? Are they going to mock you if you say, no, this is not something that I do, this is not something that I want to participate in? The question then, of course, is that people who don't respect your choices, do they even deserve to be your friends? This is a very important question. That if your friends, is that when you tell them that, no, this is something I don't want to do, and you don't even have to give your reasons. This is something I am uncomfortable doing. This is something which I am not going to do. Will your friends respect your choices? And if they don't respect your choice, do they deserve to be your friend? If they are using indecent, incorrect language, bad language, if they are backbiting about others, if they are involved in gossiping, they are involved in illicit relationships, there's a good chance that because of this exposure, you will also become a part of it as well. Yes, you may be able to resist for some time. Perhaps you will be able to resist fully. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you strength. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide you and protect you. Inshallah, hopefully you will make it through safe and sound. But in most cases, most people will not come out of that situation unscathed. There will be some impact. There will be some impact of your environment, and it will affect you in one way or the other. And of course, like I said, this is not just for children, it's for adults as well. When you have pressure from pressure from coworkers and peers, relatives, friends, right? It has to do with your work, parties, for example, going for a drink after work. In some professions, or many professions, it's something very customary, especially on a Friday after a long week. Coworkers want to go out and hang out. Pressure about lifestyle, pressure about the type of house you should have, pressure about the type of family you should have, or the type of lifestyle you should have, pressure about the type of house you should have, the type of car you should be driving. All of these things, right? We face pressure from society, from business, and from our social circle, our friends. In some cases, the corrupted beliefs and attitudes of friends has turned people who were good, people who had good character, people who had good morals, into criminals, even murderers, and also negatively impacted their faith. You could never imagine, to see a kid who was growing up, mashallah, tabarakallah, they look so innocent, mashallah, they appear to be so good and obedient and having good characters and good morals. And just a few years later, you hear something which is completely out of character, and you wonder, what happened? What happened? And I've seen some of these instances firsthand, working with children and working with youth. Children I've taught, or who are regular coming to the masjid. And subhanAllah, the decline, and rather the rate, speed of decline, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, so quick, in front of our eyes, and when we go through that, we feel so helpless. I especially feel for the parents. That feeling of helplessness, Ya Allah, there's no way to describe that. When you see a loved one, especially your child, their life and their iman unraveling in front of your eyes, and you're completely helpless. You're completely helpless in the face of that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and protect our children. See, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has highlighted the importance of good company and good friends. Because he said that al-mar'u ala dini khalili, that a man, and of course it applies equally to women as well, a person is upon the religion of their close friend. So the advice of the Prophet ﷺ is that فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِفُ. So pay attention to beware of who you befriend. Pay attention, pay close attention to who you befriend, to who you allow into your inner circle, to who you share your thoughts and feelings with, who you become close with, because their way of life, their methodology, their path, their manners, their behaviors will become yours. So be very, very, very careful. Be very meticulous when it comes to choosing your friends, choosing who you spend time with, choosing who you talk to, choosing who you become influenced by, because eventually that is what's going to happen. Now let's take a moment and think about a situation in which you are pressured to do something wrong. What are the things that are likely to stop you? Okay, someone is telling you, is pressuring you to do something, and you know that whatever that action is wrong. You can pick anyone. What are the things that are likely to stop you from committing that action? Most likely, it's fear of someone. So it's fear of your parents, it's fear of the authorities, it's fear of your spouse, fear of your employer finding out, so on and so forth. Or it's perhaps the fear of consequences. Right? So the harm that this action will cause to you, perhaps to others. Or perhaps it's the fear of the result, meaning the punishment that you may receive as a consequence. Perhaps it's the fear of embarrassment. That if I do this, what will people think of me? Perhaps it's the fear of causing pain and disappointment. Someone who is close to you. So you're pressured to do something, but you think, What if my mother found out? What if my mother found out that this is what I'm doing? How would she feel? How great will be her pain and her disappointment that I have made this choice, this wrong choice. But of course, the most important, which is why we say that a believer does not need anyone to police them, is taqwa, is one's piety and consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the reverent fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we all adopt taqwa, we don't need anyone to police us. We don't need any cameras. We don't need any cameras. We don't need any trackers. We don't need any device or any tool to keep track of us and to keep us in check. Because we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching us at all times. And we know that there is nothing that we can do that can escape or help us or allow us to escape from the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we know that whatever we do will be recorded. And we know that whatever we do will be taken to account for that. And we will have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's a very good chance that it may become public in front of everyone on the Day of Judgment. So this is a very natural human tendency to have the fear of something. You know, people try to portray themselves that they're very respectful of others, especially the opposite gender, men especially very respectful of women, women's rights and all of these things. There was a survey that was done some years ago, asking college students, college university students, about what was the number one reason why they did not engage in behavior which would be illegal with regards to the opposite gender, with regards to women. It was not because they respected women. It was not because they feared Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or feared God. It was because they were afraid of the consequences. The majority said that it was because they were afraid of the legal consequences, the effect it would have on their reputation, perhaps the effect it would have on their careers. And if it was not for that, they would have gone ahead and done what they desired to do. They would have gone ahead and committed the illegal acts that they desired to do, but the only reason they were not doing it was because they were afraid. They were afraid they would get caught. They were afraid of the consequences. So this is human nature, my brothers and sisters. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that we don't need to be afraid of anyone else because Allah is always watching us. We can never escape, because if a person is afraid of another, when they get an opportunity, when they feel that they are safe, when a person feels they're safe from the watchful eyes of cameras, they're safe from the presence of authorities and police, and they feel free to do what they want. But a believer can never be in that situation. A believer can never be in that situation because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always watching. Now, peer pressure could be positive too. If your friends and your acquaintances are good, people with good morals, people with good character, people of taqwa and iman, and they are doing something positive, they are praying their salah on time, they have good manners, they fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they come to the masjid, they are trying to memorize the Quran, they are trying to learn the deen, they are staying away from trouble, they are focusing on studies, they are engaged in wholesome activities, sports, hiking, biking, whatever it is that they're doing. Then this is positive as well. This is good because they will guide you into activities which are positive and which are good. The Prophet ﷺ has told us that the parable of a good friend and a bad friend is that of a carrier of musk and a blacksmith. Musk being perfume, very good smell. The carrier of musk will give you some, or you will buy some, or you will notice a good smell. Right? So it'll be one of those situations. Right? If your friend is a friend who sells perfumes, right, who's engaged in having something which smells nice, which is something positive, something good, so either he'll give you some, you will buy some, or at the very least you will notice the good smell. But as for the blacksmith, and there's nothing wrong with being a blacksmith in terms of a profession, but this is an example. If you hang around a blacksmith, you will burn your clothes or you will notice a bad smell, at the very least. So this is the parable that the Prophet ﷺ has given with regards to friends. That if you have good friends, if you have good company, they will rub off on you positively. There will be something good that will come out of that friendship. But if you are friends with people who are evil, who are of bad character, whose character stinks, then you too are going to stink. Don't think that, I can be around these people, right, who are engaged in haram, who are engaged in bad activities, whose character is bad, who are lying, who are gossiping, who are backbiting, who are using bad language. And I can stay in their company and I can keep myself shielded and I can protect myself. It's one thing if you have to work with people, your professor, your teacher puts you in a group, you don't have choice, okay, that's different. But we're talking about friendships, people who you voluntarily choose to spend time with. They will rub off on you. This applies even online as well. If you have bad friends, and they are sharing pictures, they are sharing videos, they are making posts which are indecent, which contain material which is indecent, which you should not be looking at, contains language which is offensive, which is disrespectful. They are sharing gossip and rumors, anything that is negative. That is also going to impact you because that is what you are feeding, being fed. That is what you are taking in. So be careful about who you follow and who you accept, whose friend requests you accept. This applies for adults as well, equally, just as much as youth. Who are you following? Whose posts are you liking? Because that is what's going to fill up in your newsfeed. Many times nowadays, it's not even about who you actually befriended or who you liked or who you retweeted, but it's based on the type of content they are posting. So if you like and follow people who have a certain mindset or who are interested in certain activities, right, the assumption will be, right, that you are interested in their views and their type of thinking and their interests. And you will start seeing the same types of ads. And you will start seeing posts from people who you are not friends with or who are not following, but they still start coming because the assumption is that because you follow such and such person, because you like their posts, you share their posts, because you read their posts and take in their material, most chances are that you are also that type of person. That's the assumption. That's what the algorithm is doing. Remember, as I end, that all friendships, my brothers and sisters, will come to an end on the Day of Judgment. All friendships will come to an end, meaning people who are friends in this world will no longer be friends on the Day of Judgment. And what is the opposite of friendship? It's enmity. So there will be enmity between friends on the Day of Judgment, except for one type of friend. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, الأخلاء يومئذ بعضهم لبعض عدو إلا المتقين. The friends on that day will be foes to one another, except those who have taqwa, except the people of taqwa. Everyone else who used to be friends will be foes on the Day of Judgment. Will be enemies, will have animosity on the Day of Judgment, except for the people who were friends based on taqwa. Ibn Kathir rahimahullah in his tafsir, he quotes Ali radiallahu anhu, author from Ali radiallahu anhu, telling us the difference between friendships that are based on belief and those based on disbelief. And he says that when a believer passes away and sees the good result of their worship, of their obedience to Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of their goodness, they recall their friend and the good guidance and the positive impact that their friend had upon them. And they make dua for their friend. That Allahumma inna fulanan khalili kana ya'muruni bi ta'atika wa ta'ati rasulik. That Ya Allah, such and such person was my close friend. They used to command me, they used to order me guide me to your obedience and to the obedience of your messenger. وَيَأْمُرُونِي بِالْخَيْرِ وَيَنْهَانِي عَنِ الشَّرِّ. And they used to command me to do good. They used to be a positive influence upon me. And they used to stop me from evil, from that which was prohibited. And then that person makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that their friend also receives that good result, that their friend is also blessed and rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when their friend passes away, they are reunited together. They are reunited together and they have a good time and they are blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when the opposite is true, that there are friends who base their friendship on disbelief or on something which was not related to taqwa, then, and especially in a matter of disbelief, then this person makes dua, but it's the opposite dua. That, Ya Rabb, oh my Lord, this was my close friend, and they used to command me to disobey you and to disobey your messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They used to command me to commit evil, and they used to stop me from doing good. And they pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants them the same result, the same evil result that they themselves are facing and are seeing. And eventually what happens? They too are reunited, but not under good circumstances. And they are cursing and blaming each other for the evil situation that they have found themselves in. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all. So my brothers and sisters, do an audit of your friends and see, are they helping you become better? Or are they the type of friends that discourage you from doing good things? Are they respectful of your beliefs? When you get together, this is a very, it's a telltale sign. When you get together, what are the things that you do? What do you talk about? Are they things that you don't want people to hear about? What are they involved in? Are these things that you're ashamed of telling others, especially your teachers, your parents, your spouse? Think about how you can encourage your friends towards things which are good and positive, things which are clean. And in the end, are you going to be happy that you had these friends in this life? Or are you going to regret it and be upset at them on the day of judgment for all the trouble that they got you into or that you got into when you were around them? And for parents as well, especially be on the lookout for changes in behavior for children. Be on the lookout for the types of friends that they have, the types of people that your child is hanging out with. And be proactive before things get out of hand. If you're seeing something happening, and if you don't do anything about it, it's not going to get better on its own. It's not going to get better on its own by doing nothing. If you find yourself in that situation, if you start noticing things, seek help. The earlier you seek help, the easier it will be, inshallah. The more you delay, the harder and harder it's going to be. And so many times parents come in desperation, helplessness, when it's too late. So if you notice something, first of all, be proactive, right, in helping your child make good choices, especially with friends, giving them opportunities to have good company. And if you notice change, which is negative, seek help and intervene in a good way, in a wise way, in a smart way, before it gets too late. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us friends which are positive, which are good role models, which are good influences. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us.